This was the 10th day of Derrickson ambush here. Derrickson, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, saw a private plane landing nearby. At the airport, the target finally appeared. Derrickson quickly set up her sniper rifle. Derrickson only had one chance to shoot. When the target showed up, she pulled the trigger without hesitation. Derrickson's father was always her safe haven and confidant. He always reassures Derrickson when something is wrong. The target Derrickson had killed was an arms dealer. Killing him would be equivalent to saving countless innocent lives. Unfortunately, the action was captured by a local drone. The father suggested that his daughter hide for a year. Despite being seriously ill, this separation turned out to be their final farewell. The story turns to another protagonist, a top sniper. Levi, played by Miles Teller. For years after he retired, he was suddenly recalled to the army. Levi with the mysterious senior executive Bartholomew, played by Sigourney Weaver. Levi received an extremely mysterious special mission. Levi was anesthetized and sent onto the plane. When he woke up, a soldier came with a tablet to verify his identity, and then took away his watch, phone and passport because there was a no-fly zone ahead. The plane can only take you here. After landing, you need to walk 38 kilometers north. Arrive at destination before 4 p.m. As a battle-hardened sniper, his record is formidable. Official records, it shows that he has 113 confirmed kills and 81 possible kills, but Liv himself knows that the actual number is far more than that. Levi arrived at his destination and sees a bottomless canyon, the bottom of which was shrouded in white mist. He was greeted by someone who looked like he had been here for a long time. The British Royal Marine, who called himself Gerda, was particularly excited to see the newcomers, because he hadn't seen a living person for a whole year. Gerda took Levi to visit their base, the West Tower Observation Post. This is a completely self-sufficient outpost equipped with solar energy. The house has a power supply system, backup generators, rainwater recycling, and even a small vegetable garden. What catches the eye is the East Tower opposite. The task seemed simple enough on the surface, with a bottomless chasm already lying between the two towers. Liv is given instructions on what to do in the tower. Every day, they patrol and inspect along the western edge, setting up an automatic dense array turret every 600 meters. Make sure you have enough ammunition. Check the guardrails and the so-called big ears, special equipment designed to interfere with satellite monitoring. Report to your superiors once every 30 days, that's all. But as JT tells the story, the unusualness of the mission gradually becomes apparent. The real mission is not to prevent outsiders from entering the canyon. It's about making sure that nothing in the canyon escapes. JD throws a device into the ravine. A moment later, a creepy roar came from the bottom of the ravine. It turns out that this place is actually a place at the end of World War II, managed by a mysterious alliance. Even the leaders of the United States and the Soviet Union do not know of its existence. There was a mission with 2,400 cavalrymen were ordered to wipe out everything that was on the bottom of the ravine. But not a single one survived. From then on, the task became permanent blockade. This might be the gate to hell, and they are the guardians of this gate. After completing the mission handover, the next day JT leaves this place and is picked up by helicopter. The helicopter took off and gradually left the mysterious jungle. JT climbed up the rope and saw the soldier waiting for him. When JT his code name had given to the soldier, he pulled the trigger and a bullet ruthlessly ended J.T's life, leaving his body to fall into the ravine. The soldier and the helicopter then report this to Bartholomew. A month passed, and Liv was patrolling along the western edge, checking the guardrails, confirming the status of the explosives below. After checking the satellite signals, Liv makes the routine report to his superior. Levi enjoys the quiet life and the beautiful surroundings until one day when he was in the vegetable garden. He suddenly heard a noise coming from the other side of the ravine. He immediately rushed to the telescope and looked at the other side of the ravine. A woman appeared opposite him, It is Dresa who has to stay here for a year and protect her side. Late that night, there was a loud thunder that woke Live from his dream. After he calmed down, he realized that he had just broken the water glass and had put his right foot in it. Live takes his binoculars and looks through them to the other side of the ravine. There sits Dresa awake in her chair. According to the rules, it is forbidden to have any contact with the other side. You only have to focus on performing your own tasks. But Dresa, on her birthday, she suddenly had an idea and broke this rule. The sound of gunfire attracted Live attention. The two started communicating with each other with messages on paper and with the telescope. Just as the two were chatting enthusiastically, Dresa noticed something in the ravine. Dresa's expression changed and she quickly motioned Live to look down. Live immediately perked up and searched carefully. At first, it was too dark and he couldn't see anything clearly. But Dresa discovered a slight movement through the telescope, as if there was a figure moving. Live immediately raised his rifle and looked down through the scope. He finally discovered something unusual. They are a kind of creature, Liv doesn't think, and opens fire. Dresa also reacted quickly, picked up a heavy weapon, and started firing wildly at the creatures below. After a round of fierce firepower, the ravine became quiet for a moment. But at this moment, Dresa heard a slight noise coming from under her feet. A creature had climbed onto the terrace. He had an ugly face and animal feet growing out of his head. Dresa quickly drew her pistol and shot the creature off the terrace. The creature fell and hit the explosives that were added. A piece of debris hit Dresa. Live saw this happen and immediately grabbed a machine gun to shoot the creatures on the other side. The dense rain of bullets not only hit the other side of the river, but also blocked the enemies under their feet. Dresa quickly recovered, and also opened fire with machine guns, and countless bullets intertwined in a ravine, shooting down the climbing creatures one by one. The battle lasted for a long time, and after the battle Dresa said what an unforgettable birthday she had. She smiled with relief. Because the battle was so intense, Liv had to check and repair everything the next morning. During the repairs suddenly, a flying device rose from the depths of the canyon. The flying device stopped in front of Liv. When the protection cannon activated, the flying device quickly flew away. Time flies, and it is soon December. Liv builds a snowman outside and continues to communicate with Darsa via paper messages. In this way, they spend a beautiful Christmas together. However, one day in February when the snow is gone, Darsa suddenly held up a sign with words on it, telling Levi her sadness and expressing how much she wished he could be by her side. Liv's heart has been touched by this friendship. The next day, Liv came to the warehouse and took out a rocket. After a few adjustments, Liv has built a rope launcher and shoots the rocket across the ravine. Darsa sees all this happening and quickly ties the rope of the rocket to a tree. Liv then asks Dresa to dinner that evening. Dresa is visibly happy with this event. Liv takes a run and goes along the rope to the other side of the ravine where Dresa is waiting for him. Holding onto the rope tightly, Liv finally reached the other side smoothly. Dresa ran up happily, and the two of them sat on the terrace drinking and getting to know each other. At this time, Liv mentioned an interesting topic. Liv said that he wondered what the creatures in the ravine would be. The two had a nice evening together and enjoyed each other's company. The next day, after the two expressed their love, it was time for Liv to go back. Since the rope is higher here, you can slide back without a running start. But when he was halfway through, something unexpected happened. A creature from the ravine had hit a landmine. With a loud bang, Liv's rope broke and he fell straight into the abyss. Seeing this, Darsa rushed back to the room without saying a word, grabbed the parachute, and jumped into the canyon without hesitation. She quickly opened his parachute, only to find that the fog below was changing from white to a strange yellow. Darcy eventually fell into a river. At the same time, Live was hanging on a tree. In a coma, he felt something approaching. When he opened his eyes and looked upwards, a giant bug came into view. It looked like a caterpillar, but it was surprisingly large. He quickly used his weapon to repel it, then cut the rope and landed on the ground. However, Live smashed some strange objects when he landed on the ground. When he wanted to get up, he found that the things below stuck him to the ground like glue, and he couldn't break free no matter how hard he tried. What's even more terrifying is that sharp white objects suddenly appeared around them. It looked like fans, slowly surrounding him. A burst of gunfire suddenly rang out. It turned out that Darcy arrived in time. Derrickson cut Live loose with a knife. The two decided to go through the fog and head to the east wall to find a zipline for escape. However, after taking a few steps, the atmosphere around them suddenly became strange. The two were alert. They saw something moving quickly in the fog. In a flash, a figure suddenly rushed out. Derrickson was hit by a fast horse, and Liv was also thrown away by another horse. When he got up, he found that the rider had a long knife on his waist. Derrickson was about to move when she was caught up by another creature on horseback, who leapt off his horse and tackled her to the ground. But Derrickson is not someone to be trifled with. She quickly turns the tables and subdues the creature. Meanwhile, another creature is bullying Lives. After a fight, Live manages to free himself and kill the creature. It is only pity that the creature with the knife took the opportunity to escape. After the two reunited, they looked at these skinny creatures. But when Liv crouched down for a closer inspection, he discovered even more disturbing details. These creatures are wearing military uniforms from the 1940s. JT had told the story to Liv about the 2,500 soldiers who never returned from the ravine. Logically, they should have turned into bones long ago, but their uniforms can still be found here. As they continued forward, the sight before them became even more horrifying. The trees in the forest had completely changed shape, taking on the appearance of human skeletons. Looking around, there were trees made of twisted bones everywhere. Their faces were hideous and terrifying, as if they were silently counting of unimaginable pain. After walking for some distance, they came to a construction area. The buildings were covered with terrifying creatures and creepy howling sounds were heard all around. For safety reasons, the two quickly hid in a nearby church, but the scene inside the church was even more horrifying, with human skeletons placed on all the benches. What is different from the outside is that after Levi's inspection, he found that these people had committed suicide by taking poison. This made Derrickson wonder what kind of horror could make people choose to end their own lives. Just as Derrickson looked up at the roof of the church, a spider-like monster suddenly woke up. Immediately afterwards, countless monsters made of human skulls launched a frenzied attack on them like a tide. Although both of them are veterans who have been through many battles and can handle the situation with ease, this is not a solution. Derrickson acted decisively and used explosives to blast a way out. After the two ran forward for a distance, they finally reached the canyon wall, but the howling around them became more and more intense. They had no choice but to hide in the tunnel of the canyon, and after sealing the entrance, they continued to explore inside. Only to find that the scene inside was even more shocking, with strange finds everywhere and human remains of various models scattered in the laboratory. Soon, Derrickson discovers a videotape that may reveal the truth about what happened here. They found a generator that was still functioning, played the videotape, and the truth finally came to light. It turns out that in 1946, this was the Alliance's top-secret base. In the late stages of World War II, in addition to war, the US-Soviet alliance also developed devastating biological missiles. But unfortunately, a few days ago, there was a magnitude 8.1 earthquake here, which caused serious damage to the facilities. The leakage of biological weapons, and the genes of various organisms in the canyon began to merge. Although people with strong immunity will not be affected for the time being, once infected, they will show mutation symptoms within 5 days. The top priority is to find a way to escape as quickly as possible. Soon, Live found computer equipment in another room, which also looked like a product from the late 2000s. After turning on the computer, they discovered a deeper secret. It turned out that a paramilitary organization called Dark Lake took over the canyon. Instead of blowing up the canyon, they continued to develop biological weapons and used drones to collect hybrid samples in an attempt to create super soldiers. This is the biggest secret here. The two of them were sent on a mission to actually guard this terrible secret. Then, Liv opened a file named Stray Dog and found that this was the canyon's self-destruction program. Once the canyon was exposed, the program would automatically start thermal radiation and the safe area would reach 4.2 kilometers. The two decided to return to the exit immediately to escape. But before leaving, Live confided his heart to Tesar, saying, "If we can't escape, I will die without regrets because I met you." However, when they arrived at the door, they found that the backpack they had put down earlier was missing. Live quickly realized that these creatures seemed to have intelligence. When he opened the door, he saw the backpack placed in an open space in the distance. But there was no sign of any enemy around. In order to avoid being discovered by the enemy, Taylor threw 2 smoke bombs for cover, but the moment he got the backpack, Drace's legs were locked and she was dragged away by a fast horse. Livy immediately chased after him. Drace tried desperately to cut the rope along the way, but the other party was too fast. The creature on the horse was dragging while looking back. Drace wanted to shoot with her gun, but he couldn't aim because of the violent shaking and was eventually knocked unconscious. Levi followed the trail all the way to the location of the biological weapons pit, and he chased after it without hesitation. Fortunately, Taylor was still alive and only temporarily lost consciousness. Drace suddenly woke up and was able to break free. A fight ensued that Drace almost lost. Luckily, Live intervened and shot the creature dead. Drace was still in shock, hugged Live tightly. At this moment, they were in a missile silo, and the only way to get out was to climb up. After walking for a while, the two saw another horrifying scene. The earthquake caused the biological missile to be damaged and leaked, causing all the creatures nearby to mutate. And here, these creatures seemed to be connected by some force. The two carefully walked through the area and were about to reach the stairs when they accidentally stepped on something. In an instant, the creatures seemed to be awakened, and their vine-like tentacles tightly wrapped around Drace. Live reacted quickly and used his knife to cut the surrounding vines, but seeing more and more mutant creatures approaching Drace shot a grenade. The two finally climbed to the ground and found a warehouse in the distance. After all, this place used to be a military base. Sure enough, they found a military vehicle from World War II and repaired the car with their skilled techniques. What is even more surprising is that this car is also equipped with a cable for climbing. Drace watched the surroundings alertly for the enemy's attack. When the bullets were exhausted, the two quickly switched positions to take over the cover. Drace immediately started the car and began to climb up along the steel cable, but danger was approaching quickly. More and more creatures discovered them. Their speed was amazing and they were about to catch up with them. While Drace fought back hard, the creatures kept coming. They both had a hard time fighting the creatures off. During the fight, Live fell down but just managed to grab onto the car. Then Live came up with the idea to puncture the gas can on the back of the car and light it. The flames spread very quickly and the two had to cut the cable, causing the car to fall down and take all the creatures down with it. After returning to the ground, the two made a fateful decision to blow up the canyon and flee. After a brief farewell, Live went back to his own tower where he gave a briefing about the past few days. The senior management suddenly took the initiative to ask Live if he had ever gone down to the depths of the canyon. Live calmly replied that he had not. The senior executive changed the subject and said that he found that the computer system below the canyon had been activated. If it wasn't you who fed it down, then it must have been done by the people in the opposite sentry tower. So the top leaders ordered Liv to execute Derrickson on the opposite side, and he agreed without hesitation. But the higher-ups have already seen everything Liv and Derrickson did through the computer camera. This conversation further confirmed Levi's betrayal, and the top management immediately decided to go to the canyon in person to deal with the two traitors. When Live and Derrickson were busy with preparations, Live heard the roar of a helicopter. He saw the Dark Lake logo on the fuselage and immediately shouted for Taylor to run. The senior executive led people to the watchtower, but found that Liv had disappeared. She immediately sent out a well-equipped quadcopter drone to hunt down the two. These drones are not only highly maneuverable, they are all equipped with small Gatling machine guns, which are simply the death pinch in open areas. Fortunately, Levi's shooting skills are superb. Facing the drone that is chasing him relentlessly, he can not only dodge the bullets calmly, but also strike accurately while rolling. He shot down a drone with a pistol and it crashed. After finding the best position, Derrickson used a sniper rifle to kill another one. There were still two drones chasing her, but his sniper skills were better and he easily solved them. The remaining danger seemed like just a routine training exercise. The two then began to execute their plan. Derrickson set up his sniper rifle and looked through the scope to see the senior standing on the watchtower. But she didn't shoot, because her and Levi's real target were those big radio towers. As long as one big radio towers exploded, the others would also explode in a chain reaction through the wires they had laid before. These explosions automatically activate the stray dog plant in the canyon. Now everyone has 2 minutes to get out before everything explodes. Derrickson and Liv have already evacuated to a location close to the safety line. If they just run further away, they can avoid being affected. The senior executives also hurriedly boarded the helicopter and ordered the pilot to take off immediately. The moment the nuclear bomb exploded, everything in the canyon was reduced to ashes in an instant. The high-rise helicopter was also knocked out of control by the shock wave and finally crashed into the cliff, causing a violent explosion. Derrickson successfully escaped the explosion range because she ran far enough, but Live injured his leg and was eventually hit by the shock wave and fell into the water. The two had agreed that if both survived, they would meet again in West Island. Derrickson waited for a long time, but never got any news from him. It wasn't until April that she found a job as a waiter locally. One day when she was serving dishes, she was surprised to find that the person sitting opposite her was Live, whom he had not seen for a long time.